What is going on, everybody on YouTube? Max Rock here with a brand new video. This is going to be a full review of the Motorola G5 Plus. As you can see, I have it here in my hand. Originally got this device at Best Buy for the price of $299, and then it went down to like $239. So I saved 60 bucks, went back to the store and got that refund. And well, here's the device. As you can see, it does have a metal build here. It's a pretty nice looking phone. Not the best looking phone, but it's pretty nice looking. So let's go over the specs. So when you look at the back of the phone, you can clearly see there's a 12 megapixel camera in the back. Has a dual tone LED flash, has a Motorola dimple in the back as well. And this is the noise canceling mic. And on the top of the device, you can see this is a SIM tray slot where you have access to the micro SD card slot and the SIM tray, or should I say the SIM card slot. And on the right side or the left side of the device, you don't see any buttons. No buttons. And on the right side here, you see that you got a power button. Now, if you look closely, see if the camera can focus in on that. The power button is actually rigid. And so you do get that extra bit of detail, just so you know, have some indication which button is which. Now, I always like to say that the power button is smaller than the volume up and down keys, so it should be easy to tell the difference, but some people are really picky like that. So, as we continue to look here, on the bottom of the device, you see you get a micro USB charging port. You get your microphone for talking and a headphone jack, which is, you know, kind of one of those things that not a lot of phones have these days. And then in the front of the phone here, you get a 5 megapixel camera in the front. And this is the speaker here. The speaker doubles as an earpiece for when you're taking phone calls, so you can hear people. So shout out to Motorola, doing the thing. On the bottom of the phone, you get a fingerprint scanner that works pretty well. So I'm just go ahead and show you guys that. So we don't have to talk about it too much. And let me go ahead and turn this brightness down. Sorry for the bumpy cam. 1 second. How does that look? Still too bright? Yeah. That should work there. There we go, perfect. Now, the screen itself is 5.2 inches. It's 1920 by 1080, so it's a 1080p screen. Has about 424 pixels per inch. Let me go ahead and pull up CPU-Z. So now we can talk about the internals. Motorola G5 Plus has the Snapdragon 625 in it. It's octa-core, as you can see, 8 cores. You got the Adreno 506. Pretty snappy GPU, and you got some advertising here in the application. Now, you also have 4 gigs of RAM, which is important, 64 gigabytes of internal storage. Available out the box is 53.71, which is good, not terrible. Always makes you wonder, like, why is the OS that big? Why can't it be like 1 or 2 gigabytes? So you can get like 61 or 62 gigabytes of storage, but that's besides the point. Android 7.0. You get the security patch of August here on the device, outdated, but you get 7.0 nonetheless. The battery itself is 3,000 milliamps. You do get turbocharging as well, so you can potentially charge the device from 0 to 50 in about 35 to 40 minutes, which is key for me, because you know, if you got to go somewhere, your battery's on 26%, 25%, just plug it up for 30 minutes, bam, you got a good charge. It's just nice to have it, better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Now, if we're going to talk about performance here, the 625 is a very snappy processor, but at the same time, it's efficient. So it's like kind of in the middle between budget and flagship, where you get a taste of like a flagship performance potentially, but at the same time, you see the budgetness behind it as well. So, for example, you definitely get 4 gigs of RAM. You get 64 gigabytes internal storage. You get 2 gigahertz processor, of course. Now, when it comes to like the flagship processors, those are sometimes a little bit like almost 25% faster. You won't really notice a difference if you're like an average user, someone who just uses, you know, pretty much budget phones, or don't care about what kind of phone they have, or don't care about what's the internals of the phone. You won't really tell the difference. But when it comes to someone like me, you can tell the difference. I had a phone early this year. It was the Axon 7. I had a Snapdragon 820 in it. It was definitely snappier than this phone, but at the same time, it's hard to really tell that difference. When it comes to doing certain things like switching in and out of apps, it's obviously faster when it comes to things like that. When it comes to installing applications and downloading them, it's faster when it comes to things like that. Now, this phone, just because it's a little bit slower when it comes to those things, doesn't mean it's a terrible phone. It just means I noticed it. So it's pretty fast, definitely faster than budget phones, but not faster than flagship phones. It's kind of a petty thing to talk about, but that's something that I noticed, and if you care about that, that's a fact. Now, the cameras on this device, they do share the same sensors as the Galaxy S7 and the S7 Edge. Doesn't have the same image processing software. So basically what that means is when this phone, I want to say device, yeah, when this device takes a picture with this camera lens here, when it takes a picture, it's not going to process the image as fast or as vibrant as the S7, because what Samsung does with their camera and their camera software is they saturate the photos, and so they'll make the photo look like something that it's actually not. So for example, if you got a Samsung phone here and you're outside, the greens will look extra green and the blues will look extra blue. It's not a natural shot at all. With this camera, it's a little bit more natural, but on top of that, it's not as crisp as the photo. So you notice the difference, but it's still a pretty good camera, nonetheless. When it comes to like the video modes, let me show you that really quickly. Oops, you guys weren't supposed to see that. It comes to the video modes here, you can see you get to shoot in 4K. You get full HD at 1080p, 60 frames per second. You get 30 frames. You get 720p at 30 frames and 40p at 30 frames. And when it comes to the front-facing camera, you get 1080p and you get 720p and 40p as well. Now, as far as the modes here, don't really have to go into too much detail with that, but you do see there that right there is the manual mode. You get your slow motion mode here, slow-mo. This is the video mode here, and this is the regular camera mode. So you get a couple, I think you get a couple filters here. Let me see, how do you access them? I believe you get a couple filters, just one of these buttons, is it? Must be the beauty shot. But anywho, the cameras on this device perform really well, especially in good daylight. Not gonna be the best cameras, but they're definitely not the worst. They're far from the worst. Now, music playback in this device here is pretty good. The speaker itself, when you put it to max volume, it isn't super distorted. It isn't the loudest, but when you do turn it up, you don't hear like any type of static or nothing like that. And that's where the actual quality in the audio really matters. So when it comes to that speaker there, it's not crappy. Not the loudest, but it's not crappy. And when it comes to, let's see, other things like phone calls, the text messaging, keyboard, like the lag factor, anything like that. When it comes to making phone calls, this device, audio is pretty crisp. When it comes to doing text messages and everything, it just really depends on the network. This device is unlocked to work with any GSM carrier. I believe Motorola is one of the only companies that make the phones unlocked to work on Sprint and Verizon. So if you ever had one of these phones here and you're on Verizon or Sprint, you can take it right to them and they can activate it. It won't be a problem. And that's what it means to be truly unlocked. You can go to any carrier and get cell phone service, not just partially unlocked or unlocked for GSM. You're also unlocked for CDMA. Let's not get into all that techno jumbo bullcrap. This phone is really good. It gives you a balance between exceptional performance and one of the main things on this phone here, exceptional battery life. So let me see if I can pull up some screenshots here. Because if you know anything about processors, you know that the 625 is a processor that's optimized for battery life here. Let's see if I can find some screenshots. All right. Oh, wait. No. I'm gonna have have to apologize to y'all because I may have took the SD card out of this phone and everything deleted, so I don't have any screenshots of the battery life, but I do have a memory. And so what I can tell you is that based on experience, I will have screen on time anywhere between 6 to 7 hours with about 20% battery left. I had one instance where I had 5 hours of on-screen time with about 40% battery life. And this goes to show you, this phone will last all day with no issues at all. I will show you the screen on time now, but I haven't really been using this device all day. The device I've been using all day is the Honor 6X. For some reason, I just can't stay away from this phone. It's kind of weird. What else can I discuss here with this phone here? Give me a second, y'all. I want to go over everything because this is a phone that has a lot of features. The actual fingerprint scanner, it doubles as a fingerprint scanner and a home button, a back key, and a multitasking key. I'll elaborate. So let's say you're on YouTube here and you need to go back. As you can see on the bottom of the screen here, there's no actual home button, there's no multitasking button, and there's no back button. What you have to do is either press home to go home, so press the button, or hit the actual sensor here, press back to go back, okay? And if you're in the multitasking, just press over, swipe over to the right. So you have to swipe to the right to get the actual apps here to multitasking, swipe to the left to go back, and press home to go home. Now easily, you can go over to the Motorola options here. Let me see if I can find that here. Moto, bang. Go to Moto Actions. You got the one button navigation. I could turn that off, okay? And so as you can see there, press home, go back home, boom. The home button and everything is now back working. Don't like it like that. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it back on. Boom. It's kind of dope. So pretty much how that worked there. And of course, with Motorola, you get the chopping action. So if you go like this, you get to activate your flashlight. I'm gonna blind y'all real quick. And then if you want to turn twice to the right or the left, you activate your camera. And do that again to activate the front camera. So when it comes to things like that, Motorola is definitely doing the big. A lot of phones do things like that. Things that are key, things that are like cool to show off to people. You never know. You could be in a situation where you need your phone real quick, you need a flashlight. All you gotta do is go. And your flashlight comes on. Little things like that is well worth the money. The phone does have 4 gigs of RAM, as I said earlier. The actual performance of the phone overall, I have to admit that it is pretty good. It actually made me realize that I need a phone that has 4 gigs of RAM because I'm always in and out of different apps, and it sucks when I have to have something reload, or I can't leave something exactly where it was because the phone has 2 gigs of RAM, but the phone has 1.5 gigs of RAM. So it's nice to have that again. The processor itself, snappy enough to keep me happy, but at the same time, it's efficient enough to make sure my battery isn't getting drained. I don't have to stay around a charger. And if I do need to get back near a charger, I got turbo charging, so I can charge my battery up fairly quickly. So when it comes to this phone here, it's actually a really good value. You can't really complain about it. If I'm missing anything, go ahead and let me know in the comments. I feel like I covered everything that's essential for this phone here. We went over battery, went over cameras. I actually got a camera review on the channel. You can check that out. I talked about the actual features as far as the chop action for the camera and the flashlight. Screen quality, went over that. Overall performance with opening apps. And yeah, everything else, I think I got it all. Now, if you want to know how audio playback is when it comes to putting a headphone or headphones into the headphone jack, it's okay. It's not garbage or anything like that. It's not super distorted, but I use Tidal and I got hi-fi music. So all my music that I download is in hi-fi. And if I'm in my car and I plug the aux cable in, obviously it's going to be a lot louder, but I'm usually using Bluetooth music anyway, so it's whatever. Anyway, leave a like if you want to like this video here. That'd be much appreciated. Leave a comment if you want to see anything specific with this phone here. It going up against any of the other phones that I have here in the lineup, as you can see behind me, including the S6 that I'm shooting this video here with now. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. That'd be much appreciated. But until then, I want to say, of course, thank you for watching this video. As you know, my name is Max, and you Have a good day. Deuces, y'all.